as everything discussed by us was all about finance, the financial distress. पर क्या इसको रोकने के या प्रिवेंट करने के कुछ चांसेस है? तो यस, मे बी हम उसको जीरो तक नहीं ला सकते, बट वी कैन रिड्यूस इट टू द मैक्सिमम अगर हम उसके ऊपर कुछ लाइफस्टाइल चेंजेस, कुछ डाइटरी कंट्रोल्स ले आए तो। अब इसके बारे में all things related to breast cancer and oral cancer will be discussed by Dr. Dale Rodrigues. He's a cancer surgeon, a surgical oncologist, MBBS, MS, DNB, MRCS, FMAS, robotic surgery training, and lot more things. He has altogether an experience of 21 years. He has been conducting many cancer summits, many cancer survivor meets, cancer awareness camps, and many people have been benefited by his treatment. They are all glad, and he's best in his part. So I welcome Dr. Dale.
Hello.
Hello, yes, sir.
Yes, I am Dr. Dale here.
Yes, sir, Dr. Dale.
Sorry for the delay.
So you are into such a noble thing that things can happen this way. And we are glad actually you could make it. We are very thankful to you for this. That even after being so busy, you could make this for this cancer awareness program.
Yeah, welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure.
I would.
Yeah, I can see this. Yes. So, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm late. Actually, I got stuck up in a surgery. So, I'm a cancer surgeon. I'm working at Holy Family Hospital, Bandra, Hinduja Healthcare, Khar, Holy Spirit Hospital, Andheri, Borivali, HCG Apex Cancer Center, and Arogya Nidhi, Juhu. So, basic talks will be today on breast cancer awareness and oral cancer awareness. All right. We'll just start skipping slides, okay? Go to the next slide, please. So, why are we here? What are the facts about breast cancer? So, today in the world, breast cancer has become so common that if you catch just randomly 8 people or 8 women, one of them will have breast cancer in their life. So, 1 in 8 women, randomly if you catch 8 women, 1 in 8 women will have breast cancer in their lifetime. This is a well-documented demographic. So please, this is the most important thing, that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So don't take this lightly. We'll see how to diagnose, what are the treatments ahead. So the main idea of this talk is this slide. So 60% of our breast cancer which are diagnosed in India are in the advanced stage. What is the advanced stage? I'll tell you later. So since 60% of breast cancers in India are diagnosed in advanced stage, this talk portrays that we should convert this 60% advanced stage detection into 60% early stage detection. So this will change our prognosis totally. Okay, next. So breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in women. And 1 in 3,000 pregnant women or lactating women can have breast cancers. Next. So let's see what is this breast cancer, how it is, and let's know how to deal with it. So what is breast cancer? Breast cancer is nothing but a cancer developing in the breast. What is cancer? It is an abnormal multiplication of cells in the body, in any part of the body. So it can be either breast cancer, oral cancer, stomach cancer, or tongue cancer, cheek cancer. It can be anything. So cancer means abnormal multiplication of normal cells. So when it occurs in the breast, it is called as breast cancer. Next slide. So a little bit of the anatomy of the breast. The blue lines that you see in the breast diagram are called the breast ducts. Okay. The pink lines which are surrounding those blue lines are called as lobules, which contain the ducts. And outside those lobules are yellow fat areas. Okay. And the green lines you see are called as lymphatics. Lymphatics are nothing but channels which drain any infection or cancer into a certain region. So for the breast, it will drain into the underarms. Okay, and the red lines on top are the muscle behind the breast. So this is the basic anatomy of the female breast, and everything will be based on this diagram. So just remember the colors. So blue color is the ducts, the pink color is the lobules, yellow is the fat, green is the lymphatics. Like so, another picture depicted in the same way. So there is a yellow fat, and there is a malignant tumor there, or small, what you can say as a lump in the breast, which is somewhere between the ducts and the lobules of the breast, and it is just behind the nipple. So the same picture of the anatomy which was given before, but now this is showing a picture depiction of a tumor in the breast. Behind the breast, you can see the muscle is there, which is called as a pectoralis muscle, and behind that pectoralis muscle is the rib cage. Alright, next please. So who are the people who are predisposed to breast cancer? Next please. So I've just enlisted a few points which are the high risk factors, or the people who are at high risk of developing breast cancer. So one is, the first is prior history of breast cancer. If someone has already had breast cancer, they are likely to get breast cancer again on the opposite side or on the same side if only a lump has been removed. The second important is someone who has been given radiation to the chest. Say for some other treatment, some other disease, sometimes we need to give radiation to the chest, that radiation falls in the breast, and that predisposes them to breast cancer. The third important point is a family history. So if your mom or your sister or your daughter or someone in the family, blood relative, who has developed either breast cancer or ovarian cancer or something known as a colorectal cancer, which is a large bowel cancer, they have a higher risk of developing breast cancers. The fourth one is the tobacco and alcohol usage. Fifth one is being overweight. Sixth one is oral contraceptive usage. It is more than 3 to 5 years. If you're using contraceptive pills which contain estrogen plus progesterone, they are people who are predisposed to breast cancer. Seventh point is not breastfeeding a baby. So if you are not breastfeeding a baby for at least 6 months, that is exclusive breastfeeding, you are running at a higher risk of breast cancer. The eighth point is your first pregnancy. If your first pregnancy is after the age of 30 years, then again you're at a higher risk of breast cancer. The ninth point is not much of a changeable thing, so it's early menarche, that is your period starting at a very early age and stopping at a very late age. So this is a factor which you cannot change actually. And the 10th point is previous breast lesion showing atypia. So in short, in the pictorial diagram, if you see again the same things, same points, family history, gene mutation. Gene mutation, I'll tell you later what is it. Late childbearing, that is after the age of 30. Early menstruation, late menopause, obesity, prolonged use of oral contraceptives, hormone replacement therapy, alcohol intake, tobacco intake. So this is in short a diagram depicted. Next please. So what is the age group that is at risk? So breast cancer, if you see 10 years back, go to the next slide please. 10 years back, if you see, it was the tumor burden was more in the age group of 60 and above. But now when you see the group is shifting to a younger age group. So if you see this diagram, if you see from 50 to 60 years and 60 plus years, 25 years back, there was a very high number of cases there in that time. But now presently we are seeing more number of cases, running in the younger age groups. So we are seeing cancer even at the age of 28, 30 years and very aggressive ones. And now predominantly the age group is 40 to 50 years. Okay, next. So how to diagnose this? What are the symptoms and what are the symptoms of breast cancer? So the first and most important thing is a lump. So my God, I found a lump. So 70% of these lumps are detected by breast self-examination. So what is breast self-examination? I will tell you. Okay, 40% of diagnosed breast cancer are detected by women who feel a lump. And breast cancer feels like a hard rock in the breast. So we'll see it in detail. Next, please. So the important symptoms are, one is a lump in the breast. So if you find that there is a lump in your breast and something which is not normal in any part of the breast, which is hard, uh, compared to the opposite side, it doesn't feel as if it's the same, and you can clearly feel a lump, then yes, this is one most important sign of breast cancer. Second thing is pulled and nipple. So what happens when the tumor grows behind in the breast? It pulls those ducts, the blue lines that we saw in the first picture. So it pulls in those ducts, and that's when the nipple gets pulled in. Third sign is a dimpling. So when the tumor is pulling in from inside the start, some areas of the skin will start to dimple. Just like you got a dimple on the cheek, similarly you can get a dimple on the breast. Dripping nipple, that is any blood discharge from the nipple. If you have a bloody discharge from the nipple, it should be investigated. Okay, any skin changes like the redness over the breast, okay, or any pitting like spots on the breast should be investigated. Next, please. Same thing, lump in the breast, nipple discharge, changes in the breast appearance, itching on the breast, red swollen breast, pain in the breast or chest area, nipples become sensitive sometimes. These are signs. Next, please. So how to examine? So what is breast self-examination? So next, please. So how to perform a breast self-examination? So there are three ways of doing a breast self-examination. One is in front of the mirror, one is while having a bath, and one is while lying down. So we'll see each in detail. It's a very important part of the presentation. Is how to detect on your own whether you're having any signs of breast cancer. So next slide, next slide, please. So the first one is in front of the mirror. So you stand with your hands, stand with your arms by your side, over your head, on your hip, and slightly bent forward. So in these four positions, you need to see yourself in front of the mirror. We'll show some diagrams so you'll have an idea. So the first time you study, feel and look at the breast on both the sides. So examine regularly, look for any changes on both the sides. See for changes in the size of the breast. See if any nipple changes, any nipple inversion, nipple discharge. Okay, pulling of the nipple to one side, skin changes, dimpling, or any lump or any bulge in the either side of the breast which doesn't look normal to you should be reported. Next, please. The second method is while lying down. So while lying down, you place a pillow under your shoulder, which side you're examining. So if you're examining the left side, you will put the pillow just behind the left shoulder. Place your same side hand behind your head and check the entire same side breast with the opposite hand. But how you check it with the opposite hand is you feel with the flat of the fingers. That is with the finger pads. Not between fingers, but with the flat of the hand. Check the underarm for any lumps and check for nipple distance, and remember to compare it with the opposite side breast. On the right hand side corner, if you see, there's a diagram that shows you how to palpate the breast, how to feel for any lump in the breast. So either start in one quadrant and you go up down, or you go in a circular fashion from the center to periphery or periphery to center. The important thing is to examine the entire breast. Next, please. And the third easier way of examining the same 1 and 2 methods, you do it while in the shower. Why in the shower? because you're more comfortable in the shower. It's a private area where you can examine yourself comfortably. An important thing is to do it with soapy fingers. So soapy fingers has a very high prediction rate. You can predict if you have a lump with a soapy finger much easily than you do with a normal plain non-soapy hand. Examine both the breast and underarms, very important. Next, please. So these are the ways you need to see yourself in front of the mirror. So hands by the side, hands above the head, hands on the hips. Check for nipple discharge. Palpate with the flat of the hand and while lying down position. Next, please. So when do you need to see me? Next, please. So any of the signs or symptoms that I've told you before, please don't be shy or ignore yourself. I've seen n number of patients who report at a late stage just because they're shy or they ignore the symptoms or they feel, "Arey, mujhe kuch cancer nahi ho sakta." The first and most important thing you should learn is the best protection against breast cancer is early detection. Why early detection? I will tell you. Early detection is a very, very high cure rate in breast cancer. Breast cancer has almost become 95 to 98% curable in stage 1 and 2. But if you're diagnosed in stage 3, then that 98% drops down to 78%. And if you're diagnosed in stage 4, the stage 4 is the last stage. Stage 4, the percentage drops down to probably 20-30%. So I've written this in three times because this should be drilled into each one's head that best protection against breast cancer is early detection, don't be shy, and don't ignore yourself. Next, please. So when do you need to see me? If you have a family history of breast cancer of a known gene mutation, so gene mutations we will talk about in the slides later on. If you have any person in your family who is a blood relative and has breast cancer, please come and show us. You need to have screening done. Any woman above the age of 40 years. Now 40 years is a US criteria. In India, we usually follow above 45 to 50 years. So all women above the age of 50 years should have a routine screening mammography done at least once a year. Any age group with any of the symptoms that I've told you. So all the symptoms like lump in breast, nipple discharge, pulled nipple should be reported. So a relative with breast cancer on same side of family, more than 2 individuals and less than 50 years. Relative with ovarian cancer, fallopian tube, or primary peritoneal cancer, or male breast cancer. Or first to second degree relative with breast cancer less than 45 years. So these people are at a higher risk. Next, please. So suppose you have these symptoms. What shall we do next? So how to investigate it? So next, please. So what we do is called as a triple assessment. So most important thing is a clinical examination by an oncosurgeon. So to know whether that lump is actually a worrisome lump, the oncosurgeon should be seeing and a proper clinical examination of the breast should be done. Okay. Second thing, once a clinical examination is done, we need to do an X-ray of the breast. X-ray is nothing but in simple terms, mammography. So an X-ray of the breast is known as a mammography with a sonography of the breast, which is a sonomammography. And the third assessment is by a small piece of tissue which we remove, which is called as a biopsy. So this on the left hand side corner down is a needle which we use, which is called a true cut biopsy needle, which is an absolutely painless procedure. We do it under local anesthesia in the OPD. So that needle goes into the lump, takes out a small piece of tissue and comes out. And that tissue is sent to the pathologist, which is seen under the microscope. And then a diagnosis of cancer comes in. So three triple assessment, clinical examination, an X-ray and a biopsy. Next. So God forbid now, if you are diagnosed with breast cancer, so these three symptoms have come, triple assessment has come positive. The clinical staging of the cancer, that is the size of the tumor, presence of any enlarged lymph nodes. Then we will do some more tests, that is a blood test and metastatic workup. So metastatic workup means nothing but detection of whether the cancer is spread beyond the breast. So breast cancer per se is a malignant cancer, and it can spread beyond the breast into the underarms and into the whole body sometimes, which is called as stage 4 cancer. So there are certain tests which we do. The third thing is counseling and discussion of the treatment plan. So we'll discuss that later in the next few slides. So the treatment options. In short, I have given one slide which will depict everything. So if you're detected in the early stages of surgery of breast cancer, something known as a breast conservation surgery, and if you detect in the late advanced stage of cancer, then the complete breast removal, which is called as a mastectomy. Okay. Beyond that, we have chemotherapy, we have radiation, we have hormonal therapy, and the latest technique is the targeted therapy. All right. So these are the main headings under which different treatments are given. Next, please. So when I say surgery, the very next question that we get is, will we have to remove the whole breast? Next, please. So there are two types of surgery that I told you. That is, one is a breast conserving surgery where we have to remove only the lump. If the lump is very small, located to one side of the breast, we can remove only the lump. Along with the lump, we remove something known as lymph nodes. If you remember the first picture that I showed you, the green lines. The green lines are lymphatics which drain into lymph nodes. So these cancer cells drain into those lymph nodes which have to be checked at the same time. Similarly, if the cancer is if the lump is very large, we have to remove the complete breast. The difference between the two is that if you have breast surgery, you have to give radiation. You have to take radiation. Next, please. So, who decides whether it is a breast conserving surgery or MRI or the mastectomy? So, survival rates are the same for both. It only depends on where the tumor is located, whether it's in the center, periphery. What are your mammography findings? Sometimes mammography findings show a presence of lump, but also it shows some precancerous changes in the opposite side or in the same side in the other areas of the breast, where a breast lumpectomy may not help you. But then in such a situation, we have to do a mastectomy. Breast conservation surgery, overall the expense is more because you are going to have radiation to the remaining breast. Many patients, to save up costs, they opt for a complete breast removal to avoid radiation. In the final histopathology report, again we decide on radiation. Next, please. So as I was telling you, what is advanced breast cancer, what is early breast cancer? So staging starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So stage 0 means it is still in the ducts, that is the blue lines that we saw. So when it is inside those ducts in the blue line, it is called as stage 0, which is called as a ductal carcinoma in situ. Stage 1 is when the tumor is only in the breast and it is less than 5 centimeters. Okay, so that is stage 1. Stage 2 means now it has spread to the lymph nodes. Stage 3, it is spread little more than those lymph nodes into in the area in the chest as well. And stage 4 means it is spread beyond all resection margins into the lung, liver, brain, bone. So this is the end stage of the breast cancer, where it spreads to every other organ. Next, please. So this is another take-home slide where you should pass it on to your colleagues. That stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, the breast cancer survival rates are 93 to 100%. Okay, so if you are detected in these stages, you can almost hope for a complete cure from breast cancer. So that is the main importance of having these talks of cancer awareness, where people don't ignore the symptoms and report these symptoms as early as possible. So when you go to stage 3, you see the survival rate has dropped down to 72%. And stage 4, which is the last stage, is about just 22%. Next, please. So what about chemotherapy? Many want to know about what is chemotherapy. Can we avoid chemotherapy? So chemotherapy per se can be avoided if you are detected at a very, very early stage. That is, tumors are less than 1 centimeter. Okay, and if they are hormone receptor positive. So we test these few hormone receptors on the cancer cells. If you're positive for that, it's a good factor. You can avoid chemotherapy. and also there is no spread. So stage 1 or stage 0, you can avoid chemotherapy. Next, please. What can we do to prevent breast cancer? As I told you the risk factors before, some are avoidable and some are non-avoidable. So we'll talk about the avoidable factors. The avoidable factors is like this. First is early detection. You should promote early detection, and best protection is early detection. It's a key to survival. Next, next please. So the ways to reduce the breast cancer is keep a healthy weight. The easy way to calculate your healthy weight is 100 minus your age. Sorry, 100 minus your height. So if you're 6 feet 4 inches or 5 inches, you're 165 centimeters. 165 centimeters minus 100. So that around 65 kg should be your ideal weight. So that everyone can calculate this easily. Height in centimeters minus 100. Exercise regularly, at least half an hour to 1 hour. Brisk walk or something should be done to keep exercising regularly, keep a healthy sleep. Getting enough sleep, at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Limit your alcohol intake, or rather I would say stop alcohol intake, and breastfeeding a baby. So exclusive breastfeeding for a minimum of 6 months is recommended for the health of the baby as well as for the health of the mother. Next please. So this is what I was talking about, the gene mutation. Is breast cancer hereditary or familial? Yes, it is. So there are some genes which are, next slide please. There are some genes which are detected in the in people which can be carried forward to their siblings or to their next generations or has come from the previous generations. Next slide please. So 25% of familial breast cancers where you have family history but are negative for any tested mutation. And 10% are hereditary breast cancer where you have a detected mutated gene. Okay, and 65% are sporadic, means there's no significant family history. So overall, we see 35% of people will have a family history. Next slide. So these are the genes which I was talking about. The most important are BRCA1, which we call as BRCA1, and BRCA2, which is called as BRCA2. The next, all those are quite rare. P10, ATM, PALB2, CHEK2, and all those are very rare gene mutations. But BRCA1, BRCA2 are quite common. Next slide, please. So what should I do if I have a family history of cancer? First thing is don't panic. Meet a genetic counselor or an oncologist and an oncologist. Get yourself screened. Breast self-examination every month. I've taught you. Clinical examination every 6 months. Okay, next. So everyone must be knowing Angelina Jolie. She had her BRCA genes tested and she was positive for BRCA1. So in that BRCA1 gene, BRCA2, BRCA1, you have a 45 to 65% of women who will develop the cancer, breast cancer. So she has opted to remove both the breast and reconstruct at the same time. So genetic testing per se in breast cancer will give you a chance to learn about yourself. Take an informed decision of what you want to do before you develop a cancer. And you can get treated prophylactically if you have a inherited mutation gene mutation. So before you develop cancer, you can be treated before you can develop a cancer before anything. Next please. So that was about breast cancer. Okay, we'll move on to the oral cancer. So what is oral cancer? I told you what is cancer. It's the same thing. So cancer is abnormal multiplication of cells anywhere in the body. So when it's in the oral cavity, it is called as oral cancer. Next please. So oral cancers can be divided into lip cancer, cheek cancer, or buccal mucosa that we call it, tongue cancer, gingival cancer, floor of the mouth cancer, palate cancer, oropharyngeal cancers. Okay, oropharyngeal cancers can be divided into tonsil cancer, base of the tongue, oropharyngeal cancer. Next, please. So oral cavity is the uppermost part of the gastrointestinal system. It is lined by stratified squamous epithelium, and 90% of the oral cancers are squamous carcinomas. So it's a type of cancer which is called as squamous carcinoma. Next. So what are the facts about this cancer? So oral cancer is so common that almost twice as many men die from mouth cancer than women. So it's quite common. Next, please. There are more deaths from mouth cancer than there are road traffic accidents. Next, please. So this is more common in males because it's it's habit-related cancer, which we'll talk about. It's the 8th most common worldwide, 2nd most common in India to breast cancer, and it's on the rise, and it's a very aggressive cancer. Next, please. So this was just released about a month back, that the data of as of cancer deaths in 2020 is 19.3 million cases detection of cancer, and 10 million people have died in 2020 of their oral cancers. Next, please. So what's the data on India? So it is the 2nd most common cancer to breast cancer, and India has, out of all the oral cancers in the world, 30%, that is 1/3 of the amount of cancer, oral cancer in India itself. It's that high number in India. 10.4% of these cancers in India are oral cancers. And the GloboCan data in 2018, as I told you just now, in 2020 we had 19.3. 2018 we had about, there was 35 lakh cases, 3,54,000 cases. And out of which half of them died, 1,77,000 died. In India, only 1/3 of them were there, 1,19,000 and 70,000 deaths. So it's so aggressive disease that men suffer and they die. They don't just die peaceful death; they suffer and they die. Next, please. So this is just a slide to show you the intensity of this cancer. That is, one person will die every 10 minutes in India from an oral cancer. It is a habit-related cancer, that is because it is caused by chewing tobacco, excessive alcohol consumption. We'll talk about this in detail later. Next. So in India, per se, the largest number of cases come from Uttar Pradesh, northeast areas, Bihar. Okay, but if you see overall, Maharashtra is not very far. 11,000 cases every year. So per se, or if you see the number of cases in Uttar Pradesh versus Maharashtra, we're not that far. So you have a lot of people in Maharashtra as well who are tobacco chewers, or they are betel nut chewers who are developing this whole thing. Next, please. So little bit of the anatomy again. So we have the upper lip, the gum, gingiva. Gingiva is the gum. The hard palate, which is the area on top of the mouth. The area in the center, which is the uvula, have the soft palate. The lining on the cheeks is known as a buccal mucosa. Okay. Similarly, on the lower jaw is the gingiva, teeth, lower lip. Except something known as the submandibular ducts, which are just salivary glands which open on the undersurface of the tongue. Okay, next. So who are the rest? Who are the people at risk? So next, please. So the first risk factor is the tobacco product usage. So tobacco product usage may be either due to smoking. The smoking can be either in the form of cigarettes, cigars, BDs. Okay, and the new ones are the e-pipes, e-cigars. They're even worse. And smokeless tobacco. Smokeless tobacco means moist snuff, dry snuff, or the chewing tobacco. Next, please. The second risk factor is alcohol. So drinking alcohol not only raises your risk of cancer to oral cancer, but it also increases the risk to other cancers. Which are the other cancers? One is the oral cancer, besides that throat cancer, larynx, that is the voice box cancer, esophagus, that is the food pipe cancer, colon and rectum, that is a large intestine cancer, liver cancer, and breast cancer. So alcohol increases all the risk of these cancers. Next. Okay. So this is very commonly used in our pan masala, the betel nut, which is also called as supari or areca nut. So these betel nuts cause something known as a fibrosis in the mouth, which is known as a submucosal fibrosis. Submucosal fibrosis is a precancerous condition. So whoever is having betel nut on a long term will develop this oral mucosal fibrosis, which in turn changes to cancer. Next, please. So in a nutshell, so if you're smoking, you're 18 times at risk. Now, but what happens when you have them together or you mix them up? So if you're smoking and alcohol, the chances become 22 times, and it is just 10 and 18 times. If you are having all three together, if you see just in the center, it's about 123 times, but you're absolutely sure of getting cancer if you are having all the three, that is alcohol, betel nut, and smoking. So any of the combination increases your risk of developing oral cancer. Next. The next risk factor is oral sex. So oral sex spreads the virus known as the human papilloma virus. Human papilloma virus is nothing but a spread of the virus from the genitals to the oral cavity, and this causes oropharyngeal cancers, that is tonsillar cancer, base of the tongue cancer, or a pharyngeal cancer that we call. So human papilloma virus spreading by oral sex. Next. The other very common risk factor is sharp teeth. So if sharp teeth are not smoothened or there are any improper fitting dentures, these cause abrasion against the lining of the oral cavity, and this can lead to oral cancer. Next. So what is the age group? Age group is usually in the 6 to 7 decade, but nowadays we're seeing people again in the younger age group, very aggressive. More commonly because people are getting addicted to the tobacco, betel nut, very commonly available for the youngsters. So now we see it in the younger age group. They're more common in men than women. It is because habit. What are the symptoms? Next, please. So symptoms are an ulcer in the mouth, in the oral cavity, which is not healing, any bleeding from any gums or anything. They are more often they are painless, means you don't have any pain at all. Okay, any swelling over the cheek or the neck. Loosening of the teeth, which is without pain. So if you have a tooth which is loosening and it is painless loosening of the teeth, then look for signs of cancer. And advanced symptoms means headache, which is more on the side of the temporal. That is temporal region just above the ear. Okay, earache and a recent onset trismus or cough. Next, please. So some examples we can just go through fast because I think this will be a key lesson for people. Gingival cancer, angle of mouth cancer. Next, please. This is a tongue cancer. This is a floor of mouth cancer. Lip cancer. Okay, gingival cancer again. So how to detect it? Again, is an oral examination. See for any ulcers, any patches, any lumps in the mouth. Next, please. What to do if an oral ulcer is not healing? First of all, don't panic. Next, please. Don't panic. Normally these ulcers are active ulcers. So if it doesn't heal in 2 to 3 weeks, see a surgical oncologist or an oncosurgeon. If it's not healing, get examined, get investigated. Next, please. So suspected with oral cancer, what next? Again, same thing with how to investigate it. So we do a clinical examination, then a biopsy. Biopsy is nothing but a small piece of tissue which you remove from the ulcer. Okay. Then imaging with a CT scan or MRI of the oral cavity and neck, and a routine blood examination. What next? Counseling. So oral cancer is a deforming surgery. So surgery for the primary to remove someone's tongue, someone's cheek, someone's neck area. So it depends. It considers a lot of talk to the patient, counseling them, and telling them that things have to be done for a cure. And we suggest them a reconstruction by a plastic surgeon with a suitable flap. Next, please. The treatment options: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, targeted therapy, and immunotherapy. In short, the main treatment is surgery. Next, please. Okay. So surgery in detail, if you go, it's one is surgery of the primary, that is a wide local excision or a complete removal of the bone of the cheek or the upper jaw, lower jaw, and a neck dissection, that is lymph node dissection. Okay, and then the plastic reconstruction with a suitable flap, which is flap maybe anywhere from the chest, from the forearm, or from the thigh. Next, please. So after the primary treatment, that is surgery, then what? Then we'll probably give you chemotherapy and radiation, or just radiation, or sometimes nothing at all. So for early cancers, if you detect in early stage, only surgery. It's an advanced thing, then you have radiation and chemotherapy, everything radiation. Next. How to avoid oral cancers? Simple measures. First of all, avoid tobacco usage. Avoid alcohol. Sharp teeth should be smoothened. Ill-fitting dentures should be replaced or reshaped. Okay. Next. So is this familial or hereditary? No, oral cancers are never hereditary or familial. So no need to worry. If I'm detected once with a oral cancer, can I get a second cancer? So it is very important that one should know that after being diagnosed with an oral cancer, you can get a second cancer very commonly. If you continue to smoke, if you continue to have alcohol, you are increasing those chances. Next, please. So yes, once oral cancer detected, you can get a second cancer. If you continue tobacco product usage, you increase your chances. If you continue alcohol, you increase your chances. It can be anywhere along the GI, lung, anywhere. Large intestine, breast, stomach, anywhere in the body, a second cancer can develop. Next, please. So that was all about oral cancer.
If anyone has a query, wants to ask sir something, can please pose the question. Anyone having any question?
Can I ask something?
Yes, sure. Please go ahead.
Sir, actually, I don't want to ask anything, but I am really thankful that you guided us in such a simple language. And second, thank you for you, because I can see that you are really not well. But
yeah, actually, I got well today.
But still, you have taken this session.
I promised Mrs. Sonal and Mrs. Preeti that I could be back.
I can see your commitment, and I'm really thankful for this. That in spite of you not being so good in your health, but then still you did a wonderful job. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay, later on, if anyone has a question, then they can post us personally and we will contact sir and get you back with the answers. Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
With this, I am really, really thankful, sir. Seriously, I'm very thankful that you could make this happen today, because you had some other more important things, that is a surgery. You are not keeping well, still you could make it. I, Sonal Jain and Preeti ma'am, both are very much thankful, and I'm very thankful for the all the attendees as well, that they could keep patience and actually wait for sir. And that's all. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And once
And
again, sorry about the late entry because it got late.
no, sir, please don't say that. We are actually thankful to you. Don't say sorry, because you were at work. And when the doctor is at work, nothing is more important than that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are really obliged.
And with this, as the sir said, that early detection can actually make us prevent from getting into deep troubles in terms of cancer. So let us take care of ourselves properly and prevent this thing to happen, and do regular checkups. So with these two things, these were very common topics, very common cancers. You actually guided us very well on both the things, breast cancer and oral cancer. Thank you so much for this. Over to you, Preeti ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We are really obliged that we have today you over here. Any other person, any other things, we don't know what to say now. We just end the seminar here, and if anybody has any queries, we will try to post to you. Please give
All
your
right.
feedback. Thanks a lot, sir. Have a great day,
Thank-
sir. We just end
Thank
the
you.
seminar over here.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonal.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. And soon a feedback form will be shared with you. So kindly fill it up so that we can better serve you.